I'm Jimmy from Superpath. I'm here today with Michael Thomas, founder of Campfire Labs. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for chatting today.
Yeah. I would love maybe could we just start Campfire? Tell us a little bit about the company, like who's Campfire, what is Campfire, what do you all do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I usually like to tell with a story. We're all about storytelling. So for the quick one-liners, we're content marketing for B2B companies. We really take a lens with like journalistic kind of practice and process. So I used to write for magazines like The Atlantic and Fast Company. And what I really loved about that style of writing was it was all focused on people and their stories. And I have done some marketing and tech in the past as well, and found that marketers tend to not tell stories very well. They kind of they tell instead of showing through story, and a lot of marketing is just really bad out there. And so I started Campfire Labs with the idea of bringing that literary journalistic style to content marketing. And so the idea is that all of our writers are trained in a journalism style, so really deep research, interviewing people and experts rather than just kind of coming up with puff pieces, and then writing in a way that's very much focused on people and what they're doing as a way to express an idea. And so we've been able to attract some really great customers. We work with Stripe, Dropbox, Asana, Notion, Abstract, about 24 other really great brands.
Man,
And
that's awesome.
yeah, that's I think the thing that our team really loves the most is we just work with amazing customers and really love working with them all. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. We get to work on a broad set of projects, not just marketing the same thing every day,
Right.
but not burnout culture of agencies and not like churn and burn style. So we've been able to create a cool culture as well.
That's cool. That's awesome. I would encourage people to go to your site, campfirelabs.co, and click on the customers tab and just see what it looks like. I mean, honestly, I was like super impressed when I went and looked not just at the logos there, but at the work that you guys are doing. It's
Yeah,
really good.
thanks.
Um, I assume you're hiring people remotely, but it's always good to clarify that up front.
Yeah, we the way I describe it is we were remote before it was cool. Before Corona sent us all home. Yeah, we're remote first and have folks in Glasgow, and then two in Toronto, Canada. My fiance told me before this, we were just eating lunch. She said, "Mention the Canadians. Everyone loves Canadians." So
Oh,
we've
that's
got
funny.
Canadians on our team.
Nice. That's a huge selling point. Also, Toronto, I don't have data to support this, but Toronto seems to be becoming a content hub. There's
Yeah.
so many people in the Superpath community from Toronto that have
Mhm.
high level content marketing jobs. I think
Yeah.
maybe Shopify has influenced that. I know there's
Yeah.
other, big tech companies based there, but like it used to be
Yeah.
all Boston and now it seems like it's all Toronto.
Yeah, I think also to throw a shout out to Cassandra Jowett in Toronto. She has built this incredible content marketers community there. And I had a call with her last week, and she's just like so intentional, so thoughtful, and sharp on the topic of content marketing. So I think she's a big part of that.
Oh, nice. Okay, I got to check that out. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Can we chat about culture for a minute? I mean, I feel like culture is, it's a little bit of a squishy word. Like, what does it
Yeah.
mean to you? Like, what kind of culture are you building at Campfire? And then like kind of like very like practically, like how does it play out?
Absolutely. So we're really intentional about our culture. We are trying to create a culture that is really built on like kindness and empathy first. I think that in work, sometimes we forget that we're working with other humans, and that's like another human being with a full, rich life at home that you're talking to and working alongside. And so I think the way that that kind of plays out is we're always kind to each other and listen, no interrupting someone or like not, are we allowed to curse on these
Sure.
videos?
Yeah.
So no asshole culture.
Yeah.
And then also just in the way that we think about well-being on the team. So as we think about working with each other, if we're sending a Slack message, we're thoughtful about what time of day it is and how that might impact somebody. And we've got a couple parents on the team, and so making sure that the work can kind of work around their schedule so that they can be parents first and still really prioritize their kids. And then we also are really driven by performance. So we want to do really great work. We want to grow every day. I think personal growth is a huge part of our culture, where we're all always kind of pushing each other and trying to help each other grow. And then I think honest and open communication is the last part that I'd mentioned, where we try to be really candid with each other from first that place of kindness, and we do it because we know that it can help all of us grow. And so I try to lead with that by example, where I'm always looking for feedback, always trying to be self-aware about my own shortcomings or where I can grow, and encourage my team to do that as well.
That's cool. That's cool. I appreciate how thoughtful you've been about that. And just a quick kind of side note on the kindness thing, like we actually included that in our community guidelines for our community. And when you just say it up front, people get behind it. You know what I mean? It's like something about just making it explicit, like that this is a safe place. Like we're all going to be nice to each other here. Like everyone kind of like can rally around that. So anyways, well, cool. So you have a couple jobs that you're hiring for. Why don't we dive into those? Okay, cool. Let's talk about the client content strategist role. I mean, as I read this job description, which obviously we'll link to, read the whole thing, like make sure you really, line by line go through it. But it sounds like a sales-ish role, but I'm assuming that because you've called it something different, that your approach to it is also a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a bit unique as a company. I think I mentioned this in this past role that we talked about, where we're not like growth at all costs. We don't have investors or boards or anything like that. And so one of the things that really enables is that as we think about building out the team, we can be really thoughtful and do it in our own unique way. So rather than hire a salesperson who's just going to like churn and burn and cold call and be trying to close as big of deals as possible, we're really looking for somebody who is passionate about content marketing, passionate about storytelling, and likes to talk to people in the industry. Since we have an advantage in that all of the customers that we work with and most of the prospects coming in are some of the top content marketers in the field. Like they're the best companies and some of the best leaders in the space, like a Camille Ricketts, who ran First Round Review and is now at Notion. And so we're looking for somebody that ultimately folks like that are going to be interested in talking to and can build a relationship with. So one of our values as a company is just like focusing on the relationship. We try to build strong relationships with partners, customers, folks in the community. And so this is a bit of a unique role. The reason we didn't call it sales is because it's really about helping our customers think a little bit about what they're trying to do in that initial call or two, but then passing it over to our editorial production team who's going to produce that work. So I think it could be ideal for somebody who really loves talking about content marketing, but doesn't necessarily want to be executing on the work and just likes to talk to people. And so, I think that's kind of the way I describe that role.
Cool. It's interesting because, we wrote a post recently for the blog about content marketing careers and like, where do they go? It's like, there's really not like a very well-defined path unless you go kind of content manager, content strategist, head of content. But besides that, there's like a million other ways this could happen. Right. One thing that I didn't include in there was sales. And in retrospect, I should have. Like I included, paths related to like individual contributors, lateral moves to product marketing, maybe starting a freelance business. But I didn't talk about sales. And I wish I had now that we're having this conversation, because you're right. Like it's possible to be very good at content marketing, but not necessarily want to spend 40 hours a week just banging away at a keyboard typing when, there's this whole other element to it where, in my own experience doing content marketing sales, it's really fun to meet people and to like chat about their, what's going on, like what challenges are you facing? Like, what's happening on the ground at your company, because you learn so much.
Totally.
So I think that's really interesting. Is there, how do you evaluate this person? Like, you know what I mean? Because part of it I imagine is, you got to like check, like obviously, okay, they have some content marketing background. Then what? Because there's this kind of like hard to pin down piece where it's like, maybe like, are they charismatic, right? Or do they
Yeah.
ask good questions, or, can they
Right.
run a call well? Like, how are you thinking about kind of checking for that in the hiring
Yeah.
process?
Yeah. I think one thing I just say is like, even on the experience, we're pretty open. I mentioned this in this last role. And we really don't want experience to be a barrier. So if there's someone who's really passionate and talented, but doesn't necessarily have that pedigree or experience, or has been overlooked in the past, we think that those are going to make some of the best people on our team.
Right.
And so I think the way that I am evaluating that role is it somebody who can build strong relationships with people? So that's good, clear verbal communication, written communication. So in that first email, is that an email that I want to respond to? On the call, do I feel like we can build a strong relationship? It's someone who's maybe read How to Win Friends and Influence People, the whole be interested, not interesting. So asking good questions, like you said. And then I think that on what we try to do is often do a paid test project with folks when we're in the interview process to kind of see how the working relationship works both ways. And one thing that we do for this role is we look at kind of example set of story ideas that you might pitch to a customer, since a big part of our process as we're working with new clients is to come to them with some ideas of, hey, you know how the New York Times did this, or you know how the Atlantic did this? We're going to do that, but for this industry. And so can you kind of be creative in that way and look at this great stuff that happens maybe in broader pop culture and say, what if we pulled that idea and did it over here, and present it and communicate it in a really clear way? So it's kind of like somebody who is able to sell an idea to you, and do it in a way that feels like honest and authentic.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Well,
Yeah.
how will this person interact with the team who would then actually go and execute this work? Like what is that? I think all of us have probably participated or sort of been on the receiving end of a sales process
Yep.
that ultimately is disappointing because you've been sold something that is not, it doesn't like really, it's not really the thing. So
Right.
like, what does it look like when this person hands you off, and like
Yeah.
what's going on behind the scenes to make that a really good process?
Yeah. It's the way that we think about our sales and editorials. They're like two sides of the same coin, where it's not this like, we sell you this incredible vision and then we hire some college grads to write the content, where you feel disappointed. And I think that's why our customers, all these great brands like Dropbox, Asana, Notion, all of those folks keep coming back and wanting to work with us, is that we're really thoughtful with our work. And we try to produce really high quality work, like really obsessed with that high quality, sometimes probably to a fault where we work on too many iterations of something. We've had to tell
Right.
writers like, we just have to like stop on that one. And so I think that translates with our client strategy side, or this kind of sales side, where we just want that handoff to feel really good, and for when we're going to maybe resell the customer, for it not to feel like, oh no, the person that's going to sell me is coming back in. We think about like building those strong relationships and having a good relationship between editorial and sales. So we actually have a bit of an unconventional approach where someone who used to be on our editorial team will actually be running the sales and editorial function, and it's in order to really show like the way that we're going to grow as a company is producing great work that people then want to recommend to their friends
Right.
and colleagues.
That's cool. That's cool. I like it because it's not the one end of the sales spectrum, which is like cold calling and like kind of
Exactly.
that
It's
sort
the
of
anti
hellhole.
that.
And then like the other kind of extreme in my mind is like shaking hands and smoking cigars on a golf course. It's not really
Right.
that, it's like this,
Right.
it feels like it's a role that's like really just like baked into the heart of the business,
Yep.
versus
Totally.
like this kind of siloed function, which is purely there to generate leads.
Totally. Yeah. And yeah, it's building long-term relationships and not having a ton of back-to-back calls all day. Like I think some people maybe don't like the idea of sales because they're like, I couldn't be on calls for, back to back for 10 meetings a day, like there's a part of it that's like creative and coming up with some of these ideas and pitching some of the proposals. So someone who does like that creativity and maybe wants to come up with some concepts for a couple hours a day and have that, maybe it's morning to have some focus time or later in the day. And so hopefully it appeals to somebody who has wanted to be on calls and build relationships with people, but hasn't really seen it in a traditional role, or might have been overlooked by people that didn't see their potential.
Right. That's cool. I think it's a very cool role to me. Um, I'm looking forward to sort of seeing what the community response is, because I know there's a lot of people in our community, especially that are like,
Yeah.
what's next for me? And like, this is the type of role that's like, this could be the thing. So
yeah. And if anybody is hesitant and like, I don't really know, could I see myself in that? Reach out to me. I'm in the Slack community, and I can introduce you to somebody who was on our editorial team and is now doing sales and really loves it. And that could be a real firsthand experience that we'd love to tell you about.
that's perfect. I love it.